show, this is it.
Get ready for truth and common sense. Join the Framers View on Rumble.com to be part of the chat. Be sure to click join and follow to help keep the Framer on the air. Watch the replay on theframersview.com or Rumble.com.
A Friday edition of Framers View. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and thanks for being here. I appreciate your attendance. We'll put that on your report card with your parents. You remember when you were in grade school? God, did you go to a school where they had the parent teachers meetings, which was basically an insurrection? That's the only way I can put it. But anyway, welcome to the show. Hey, budget, smudget, and heated politics. Man, what is going to happen by the end of this year? The question is, without a doubt, unanswerable and a little bit frightening. And there's so much to say today. I mean, it's just huge. I'm going to point out some stuff that I've been talking about for I don't even know how long, that is so clear about the weakness of the Republican leadership. It just drives me insane. So what are we doing today? I have no idea. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later. No, there's a bunch. So what a surprise. The budget mess, that's going to be a big piece of the story today. The press is losing their mind, and probably, I don't know, their heads may explode. We'll need a hazmat unit to come out to all the press places and clean up the mess. The brain matter, well, if there is any, will be all over. The government's shutting down. Is that really bad? We'll find that out. Democrat is saying what we all know, but guess what? She's saying it. Big donor, big fundraiser for the Democrats. I've had her on the show before. Her videos, not on the show. Her videos, there's I would say, a freeing of her attitude now. I'm wondering if she's becoming the next Republican. We'll see what happens with that. Rahm Emanuel, you may know him from the past and the present. He's making some good points. EV stuff with Newsom. Come on, man. Do everything stupid you can so that we can set things up for 2028. New jobs report, not a new jobs report, but the jobs release of true information is coming up today. And John Kennedy, he makes a great point, but once again, it's hilarious. I'm not talking about President John Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy, and that'll be fun. But first, I wanted to do two things. One, it's reported, and this is fascinating. Some people would read this and say, well, yeah, see, I told you. I told you. This is what the story is and what I told you, okay? It's reported that Joe Biden has the highest level of deportation since 2014. Wow. And it's a 2014 that's the interesting date. So why is that happening? Well, I got a simple answer to that. Okay, you ready? Hold on to your chair. The reason is, my friend, as we blow in the wind, is there's never been more people that's come across the border. And just by accident, they will deport a certain number of people. Not by accident. A few people will get deported. Of course, their numbers are bigger because the illegal immigrants coming into this country is much bigger. It's massive. I'll have some stories about that on Monday that will just blow you away. This is where we stand today. This is how it just keeps getting worse and worse. And there's what everybody needs to realize. It's kind of like the China Wall, which, by the way, is a border. The China Wall. If you keep running towards it, you're going to run into it. And our wall, the U.S. wall, is a guy named Donald J. Trump. Now, I bring that up because it's so clear as we get to this with the budget thing that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. I'm going to share with you and talk about, and all of these things, and the immigration and the numbers. And the reason I'm going to follow up Monday, we have some new statistics from the census for 2024 that will knock your socks off if you're wearing socks. Some of you don't wear socks. I don't know how you do that. Don't want to get gross, but my feet sweat way too much to go without socks. I can't do it. Can't do it. Not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. So that's what that is. I want to share with you something before we go any further. The Secret Service is a mess. And there's rumor that Dan Bongino, it's not totally out there yet, is going to turn out to be the new director of the Secret Service. And I started thinking, why would he do that? Well, because he's making massive money between his radio show, of course, Rumble. He's on Rumble. He's on a couple hours before me. And I think he's got the largest live streaming in the world. If he takes the Secret Service thing, he'll be going away, and that would be sad because I enjoy watching his show. I don't get to watch him live because I'm preparing for my day, but that's what could be happening. So I thought, what does the Secret Service really do? And this is one of those history educational moments. So get out your pen and pencil and your 3-ring binder and start making notes. So this is what the Secret Service does. There's 12 things that you may not know about what the Secret Service does. Number 1, the president and vice president can't refuse protection while in office. Once out of office, the president and their spouse can decline lifelong protection and or hire their own security. When traveling, the president is never more, this blew me away, never more than 10 minutes from a trauma center. And agents carry bags and the president's blood in case of a transfusion needed. Really? They investigate anyone who makes a threat against the president. They determine if it's real, and then an agent is present. This is amazing. Is present in the bathroom, at the doctor's office, and all other seemingly private situations. I mean, you talk about security. Agents film the president so they can review the footage in the event of an attack. All food eaten by the president is prepared under Secret Service supervision. I mean, think about this. When the president is staying at a hotel, they keep the elevator and elevator repairman on standby in case the president gets stuck. Wow. They can track down threatening handwritten notes thanks to ink tags that identify the brand of pen and where in the country it's sold. Really? They're on duty even during the president's leisure time, which means they can be forced to pick up hobbies, including running and horseback riding, which Ronald Reagan was one of those. And one of the Secret Service guys actually learned how to ride and loved it and rode with him till not long before President Reagan died. There are some cases when sunglasses protect eyes from projectiles and allow agents to scan a crowd undetected. But most of the time, they're just for protecting their eyes from the sun. The Secret Service is present at major events like Super Bowl, even if the president isn't. This is to work with other federal agencies to prevent terrorist attacks. In November 2016, the agency seized 30 million counterfeit dollars and 50,000 euros. The largest seizure ever was in Lima, Peru. I don't know if you find that fascinating. If it's boring to you, let me know. But I find these kind of things just stunningly fascinating in so many ways. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just the things you don't know. I was actually watching this morning. I was watching Dan Bongino, and just for a few minutes, because I knew he had a SEAL Team 6 guy that he knows that was on the show. And they were talking about the things the military have that we don't even know and probably will never know about. SEAL team, there's things out there that they've never even seen. There's helicopters that nobody's ever seen the technology that these helicopters have. What's the clearance for those guys that fly those? And are they ever watched? For how long? I mean, these are big deals. All right. So now I move on to what the show's really about. I wanted to share those things. It's Friday, and I take a few privileges on Friday. Does that make sense? So, and I do common sense. What can I tell you? So this whole budget situation, it's the same ride on the same bus, and it's not electric, and it goes down the road the same way. We come towards the end of December, and what do we have to do? We got to get a budget bill taken care of. And then what happens, and I've said this before, I've talked about it so many times. Weakness allows for bad things to happen. Whether it's war, we're watching a thing that's called The Last Kingdom. It's about England before it's England, back in what I think is the 17th or 18th century. And all of these parts of England are other names. If you've seen the show, you know. And I've been watching that. And one of the things that comes up every once in a while are the kings of these little sections of England. And some of them, they'll cut your head off and won't even think about it. You know, they'll put you in a cage for the rest of your life, not even think about it. But nobody's going to approach the castle of that community because that guy's strong. And the weak ones, they get run over by the other ones. Of course, England is famous for taking over countries. And all those countries that were taken over, guess what? They were weak. Now, the weak asses that came to the United States that we call the founding fathers, they weren't weak. Because when the Revolutionary War began, that was England, and we didn't lose that. They knew they were coming, and they didn't bake a cake. And strength and power. Well, now we're at the budget. This budget situation is a big deal. It's bigger than most people understand. And the reason I say that is that when you consider what is at stake, and I've said it, how many times have I said it this week? It's not their money, it's your money. That government guy that's trying to recruit people, we want you. It's the same thing. They've got your money, and they want your money because they spend it irresponsibly. So now it's time to put out a budget. Now, Trump, because he is not weak, is saying, let it go to a showdown. I'm going to share with you a couple of slides on that. Let it go to a shutdown. And we'll discuss how it hurts people. So a couple of days ago, Mike Johnson, I think he's probably a good guy. There's no way to know. You know, he hasn't been over for dinner, not recently anyway. And we don't know what's going to happen or what things are going to do. But this is what Mike Johnson said a couple days ago. Watch this.
Well, this is about the only thing we can do. And let me explain what's happening here. I don't disagree with anything that my friends there just said because I'm a fiscal conservative as well. Remember, at this moment, we only have control of 1/2 of 1/3 of the federal government. We have a razor-thin Republican majority in only one chamber. All this changes in January, of course, thankfully because of the election. But right now, we got to do this short-term funding measure to get us to March 14th. This was the conservative play call. We don't normally like what's called a continuing resolution, a CR, but in this case it makes sense because if we push it into the first quarter of next year, then we have a Republican-controlled Congress and President Donald J. Trump back in the White House, we'll be able to have more say over the funding decisions for 2025. Now, that would have been an easier thing to do, but then we had circumstances outside of our control. We had these emergencies that are required. So we had, as you know, a record hurricane season. We had Helene and Milton, and they just did massive destruction across our red states, frankly, in the southeast and the eastern side of the country. And then we've had farmers who are in jeopardy of permanently going under. They've had 3 lost years in a row because of Bidenomics and inflation and other circumstances outside of their control. And so when you cobble those two things together, there's a desperate need for that aid, and that's what adds another $100+ billion to the bill, and that's why everybody's uncomfortable with it.
This is just so weak. Just so weak. You know, first of all, it should be just a clean bill. Here's the budget. We don't have all this crap in the bill. 1,500-page bill now. Now it's supposedly 100 and some pages. But the Democrats absolutely run Congress. Whether we want to admit it or not, if we would just admit it, we might make a difference. That's my whole point here. The only way you can take control of things is stand up. When a bully is bullying you, you have 2 choices. I've told so many of my friends, you know, when I was a kid, I always said there's 2 choices. Choice number 1 and choice number 2 are always dramatically different. Not always, but most of the time dramatically different. Let yourself be run over or stand up to the bully. And you know what happens usually? When the bully gets stood up against, they run. When you want to fight the bully, you don't get to, because they run. Because they've never had to fight. Because nobody ever stood up to them. I won't name the guy, but there was a guy like that in my school. And of course, I'm a vertical giant, and I was even kind of cocky then. He decided he was going to stop me from being somebody. Well, I stood up to him, and he didn't back off, but he did lose. And I never had another problem. Not a single problem from him. In fact, we became friends. It's called respect, and that's what Trump wants. And that's what we don't have in Congress, especially now with the House, which you think Mike Johnson is going to stand up and do something right. And guess what? He's not. I don't know how to describe my frustration with this. That we could possibly have this kind of a thing going on, where we're going to go into a time where we're going to just shut down. That's what's going to happen. So the press has some thoughts. And I grabbed some headlines, and I wanted to share those with you. A couple of these, well, 4 of them. This is Fox. Democrats dig in for spending bill fight. Not going to let Elon Musk run the government. This is Chuck Schumer and all their idiots. Elon Musk is not running the government, but because of his power, he can say we shouldn't pass this bill. And guess what happened? It didn't get passed. Another one from Fox. President-elect Trump weighs in on showdown, with deadline hours just hours away. That's a Fox couple of statements. Now let's go to another one, MSNBC. The spending deal's cause of death doesn't bode well for the next 4 years. I mean, it's classic, right? Elon Musk just rocked Mike Johnson's world, and this is only the beginning. Just doom and death. I guess that's the only way to put it. Doom and death. MSNBC, I forgot to put that. Both of those were from MSNBC. They see things so differently. And part of the point that I want to make here is when you're strong and you have a plan, that's when you can get things done. No matter what it is, whether it's running a business, in politics, anything. Your kids. You can't let your kids run you over. Some people do. Some people don't know how to parent. And there are no study books. But I can tell you, I wasn't running over my mom and dad. It wasn't going to happen. Now, was that back when parents were a little different than they are today? My parents would have gone to prison for what they abused me when I was being a problem. But I was unclassified, undiagnosed ADD, ADHD, or whatever the hell they call it. I couldn't sit still. That was me. You can probably tell that's me today. But guess what? I think it gave me a foundation. And these parents today aren't giving them that. It's all, it's the trophy thing. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody gets a participation recognition. That's not the way it should be. So Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrat Party, he has some things to say, and he's a leader. And if he gets enough in front of camera, he wins. Here's what happens. Democrat Jeffries calls stopgap laughable. So he's already making fun. The Trump-Musk-Johnson proposal. You got to love that. What's Musk have to do with it? He's in charge of spending. He's in charge of cutting expenses. He's not in the administration. He's not a Republican or a Democrat in any office. But he has to bring him up because that gives him power by saying Musk. Oh, that Musk guy can't be there. It's laughable, Jeffries told the outlet. That's being USA Today. I didn't even know they're still in business, by the way. I found this. Referring to the president-elect House Speaker Mike Johnson and Elon Musk, who was instrumental in sinking the first iteration of the stopgap on Wednesday. Extreme MAGA Republicans are driving us to government shutdown. Oh my God. That's what he's doing, what they're doing. We're going to a shutdown. Well, guess what? There were 24 Republican senators that voted for the first one. 24. Weak, suck Republicans. When I say weak, suck, I automatically want to say Democrats. But these are Republicans. Jamie Raskin said, CNN reported, so the Democrats are going to try to figure out how we can salvage the public good out of the wreckage. Oh, we're going to come and save America. According to multiple reports, the funding bill includes a clean 3-month extension, a 2-year suspension of debt limit to January 2027. These are things that they've got in there. A bill extension. He's pointing these things out. 110 billion disaster relief package, which includes 10 billion in aid for farmers. A new bill, 116 pages, as opposed to the 1,500 pages of the first iteration. Gang, all of this could be ended by simply saying, here's the bill, here's what we're going to do, and the strength and the power of the Republican Party, while it is weak, could say, if you want to go to shut down the government, that's fine. We're going to do it this way. That's the way leaders lead. You have to be willing to walk away. That's what you have to do. You have to be willing to walk away. So how does that happen? And the answer is the only way that can happen is you're strong. You put together something that makes sense, and you don't include all of the nonsense expense. When we're talking about a spending bill and control of it, you don't throw new stuff in. Let's get the bill approved. We'll do another bill later for things that need to be done. Now, should we take care of the farmers? Should we take care of Social Security and all those things? Of course. Trump isn't going to touch that. But these are the things that have to be taken into consideration. So I thought to myself, what are the differences, or what really happens when the shutdown occurs? So I pulled up what the shutdown really does. And here's what I found. This is fascinating. Since 1980, it was one day, only the FTC had agencies affected. 1,600 employees for furloughed. The cost of the government was $700,000. I cannot get a straight answer on what that means. I really can't. These expenditures that you see down this column, I don't know how it cost $700,000. If Carter was president, both houses. I won't drag down through those, but you can look at those. 1981, 1 day, all except legislative branch. That was Reagan. 241,000. That was a Democrat and a Republican. So watch those as we go along. 1984, about 4 hours. There were some agencies who were affected. 86, 1, about 4 hours. 1990, 3 days. It was all agencies were affected. We'll talk about what that means. November of 95, 5 days. Some people were affected. This was the Clinton era. 2013, 16 days, long time. 2.1 billion, it was Obama. January of 2018, 3. Oh, by the way, that situation with Obama, the Republicans was in control of the House, and Dems were in charge of the Senate. January of 2018, Trump's in office, 3 days. This is so clear. Both House Republicans and on both houses, both chambers. What this means is weak ass Republicans that vote the other side, and vice versa. Those people in the middle can be dangerous, no matter what you look at. 2018 and 19, 35 days, $5 billion cost Trump. This was a big deal, and it could be a big deal this time. That's what I kind of expect to see happen. We'll find out. We'll find out pretty quickly. But again, I can't express clearly and enough how important it is that we're looking at a weak Republican Party that presents a bill. First of all, they allowed stuff in the bill that Mike Johnson knew Trump was going to raise hell about. You can't trust Mike Johnson. That's my point. You can't trust him because he's powerful. Trump is. And he's going to see that and he's going to say, no, Mike, this isn't what we agreed to. And he's going to get in front of the camera, and Musk, all he did was typed a little note that said, this is a bad bill. And it crushed. That's power. Of course, he is the most wealthy man in the world. And he's got Trump's ear, which is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So USA Today, I didn't know they were still in business either. USA Today, I did a lot of research yesterday. They've got some thoughts about Trump and the budget and all of the things that's going on. Look at this. Will there be a government shutdown? Trump wants the clout and the chaos. This is Chris Brennan. I took a look at Chris Brennan. What a knucklehead. What a jackass. Did you forget what Donald Trump's first term as president was like? Yeah, it was awesome. Chris, this week we get a reminder. Governing is for losers. Burning things down so you can be illuminated by the flames is all the rage again. Why? U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson and devoted Trump toady. He's a Trump toady. No, he's not actually. Had the temerity to negotiate a proposed deal between his party and the Democratic caucus to fund the government through mid-March in a complicated package that included disaster relief, help for farmers, and a bunch of other stuff. That's really good by this writer. Other stuff. And by the way, we need to be able to, fund and help with the disaster relief. That's what's important. Help the farmers, which have been hurt badly. and a bunch of other stuff. Why is this breaking down? Because the far right wing of the Republican caucus has two kinds of members. Those who dogmatically declare that any kind of governance that doesn't exactly match their ideology is corrupt, and those who know that tossing tantrums in public and on social media draws attention that can then be monetized via fundraising. Okay, let me point a couple things out here. This idea of dogmatically declaring that any kind of governance doesn't exactly match their ideology is corrupt. That's exactly what the Dems do. That's exactly what they do. That's what they've always done. Forever. Tossing tantrums, that's the Democrats. Now you've got the Republicans doing it, and they have a coronary. It's what I've always said. What they say is what they're doing. You know it over and over and over again. It's always the case. And so now where do we stand? I didn't take a look just a little bit ago. I didn't take a peek at what's going on since I started prepping the show today, because I've made a rule to myself. I can't do that because I keep wanting to throw more stuff in. Can't do it. Not going to do it. There'll be Monday. We'll be able to do it then. Well, Nancy, I'm not sure if a budget even needs to be necessary. Let's go for a pony ride. Oh, I'm sorry. I lost myself there. Anyway, we got to get strong. And now we have to clean the bill up because it's going to get voted on. Supposedly this morning, they're going to vote. Maybe some of you have seen that. Actually, I've got one of the tabs open. I can take a look and see if they've got some coronary going on right now. No. No, they're just sending messages and threatening people right now. That's all that's happening. Not a big deal. Anyway, we got to get strong. We got to put it out there. And if the government shuts down, so be it. It happens. It doesn't shut things down like everybody thinks. Social Security doesn't go away. People that are on aid doesn't go away. It's not the end of the world. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, let's move on because there's some things that are just classic. So I mentioned to you that the Dems have some, we'll call it fallout that's going on. People that are pretty powerful that are starting to say, this deal isn't working. And one of those is a lady by the name of Lindy Liu. And you might guess she's an Asian woman. Not a whole lot of, just white skinheads are named Lindy Liu. I just threw the skinhead at. That's perfect. But my point is that Lindy Liu, she's a big fundraiser. But I think, I may be wrong, I think that she's a candidate for moving over to the Republican Party. Watch this. This is interesting.
This is not what America wants. November 5th was a decisive defeat for the Democratic Party. She lost every single swing state. It wasn't a squeaker like it was in 2016. This was a resounding defeat. And right now, Kamala Harris is indulging in delusions of running for governor of California, possibly in 2026, or even president again in 2028. America has said this is not what we don't want to be coconut pilled. We do not want Kamala Harris. We don't want failed border policies. And I feel like I'm liberated and I can finally tell the truth that the Democrats completely failed on the border.
Well, first of all, wouldn't you like to think that she would have spoken the truth before? But the problem is, and we've said this so many times on the show, the Dems can't tell the truth or they won't get any votes. Lindy Liu was a fundraiser. She raised massive money for the Harris campaign. And she kept talking to the administration, not the administration, but the campaign people. And the campaign people said, yeah, we're doing good. We're doing great. And the fact is, they weren't doing great. They weren't doing great at all. But if they told them the truth, say, hey, we're in trouble here and we need more money, maybe they'd say that. But they don't even have the nads to say that. It's craziness. So now Lindy Lou talks about, well, what's going to happen to me, kind of. That was asked, the question was asked. And now we're talking about the cancel culture, which I don't think she cares about. But she talks about it here. And this is really fascinating because it makes clear what is really going on. Watch this.
Afraid of being canceled because the cancel culture in the Democratic Party, and I experienced it this week when I said there was a stench of loser hanging over the Democratic Party. You know what they called me? The W word, the C word. I lost tens of thousands of followers because I dared to tell the truth. Because in a cult, you can't tell the truth. You can't ask any questions. But I'm done with that. But he's totally right. And I'm probably going to get canceled again for what I'm about to say. Men are men and women are women. And it's an issue when men are trouncing women in women's sports. This should not be a controversial take. This is common sense. And the American people understand that the Democratic Party, they exist in their ivory towers that are so far removed from reality. And these ridiculous wars are not what Americans care about. We care about bread and butter issues. We care about putting food on the table, sending our kids to school, strong borders, not having millions of people rush through the border. And I'm a naturalized immigrant myself. So this is, and just because you care about these issues doesn't make you sexist or racist.
Good point. That's a Democrat. That's heavy duty Democrat. And she put it out on the table. And the fact that you're going to just get canceled. You're done. You'll never see daylight again. We'll put you in a closet after we duct tape your face, and we're going to close the closet, duct tape the door closed, and you're never coming out. That's what they basically say. Until sooner or later, a Tulsi Gabbard or a Lindy Lou decide, I think I've had enough. I've had enough. And the reason that she said that, all those things, the reason that those things went on is because she was lied to. When you're raising massive money, if you have any brains at all in a campaign, you tell them the truth. I've helped in campaigns where we were behind or in trouble, where it was getting too close. And we told the people that were donating to our campaign, we told them, look, we're in a tough spot here. We need to keep having this money coming in. We're making some strides, but it's close. And we need and we appreciate your help. That's what you've got to say. Instead of saying, we're doing great. You're lying to them. You'll never get money from them again. Lindy Lou's not going to raise money again for certainly for Kamala Harris if she runs for governor or runs for president in 2028, which would be wonderful. But my point is, they keep getting lied to and they get angry. And here's an example of why Kamala didn't win. And I think she's drunk here, but this makes the point of Lindy Lou and why I'm going to have to say she can't win.
Good morning. Oh. Remember the context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
Hey, let's play that again.
Good morning. Oh. Remember the context in which you exist. Yeah, I did that.
Doofus. Oh my God. She actually got to the point of running for president of the United States. Think about that. That is stunning. And what does Lindy Lou have to say about that?
I don't think so, and I don't think that the field is going to clear for her. I think that's a false assumption because people understand that this is a fundamentally weak candidate.
That's all you need to hear. A fundamentally I don't even know how to laugh like she does. Lindy Lou made the point. I mean, it's pretty strong. You know, remember back when Trump lost, and in 2020 when he lost, and all the Democrats said, now we're going to have the adults in the White House. Oh, we got the adults. We got an old guy, doesn't matter about age. I was just talking about this with my brother this morning. I talk to my brother every Monday and Friday, without fail. We talk every Monday and Friday because we're good friends. Hate is the wrong word. We didn't really care about each other that much as kids. You know, he was 5 years older than me. You know, we weren't that close. I mean, we got along kind of, sort of. But, you know, age is a relative term. You're old when you accept you're old. You're incapable when you accept you're incapable. When you have some problem, you figure out how to overcome it. Or you're weak and you're ill and you can't do it. And that's what Joe Biden is and was. I say was because he's not even president anymore. I don't think anybody believes that he's doing anything in the White House, except for spending money. He's got his minions spending money. So here we are, there we are, so to speak. And how do we get past this? Well, there's some politicians. Lindy Lou is a good example. You know, she was talking about how bad the candidacy was. But there's other people, and one of them is Rahm Emanuel. And I always thought Rahm Emanuel, which, don't get me wrong, you know, if he's behind me, I want a mirror in front of me to see what he's doing back there. You know, as we're walking, is he pulling a knife out for my back? I mean, he is a operative for sure. He's a candidate, operative. He should never be really, he was mayor of Chicago. I think he should never be, well, he could be a mayor of Chicago. Duh. But the point is that he's not stupid. He knows how to get things done. Can't disagree with that. So here we are at a point where the Democrats have stepped back. And they've said, wait a minute. It's Trump's fault. We should have kept Biden in there. Kamala didn't have enough time. She didn't have enough money. I can't use that one. Just all the us, right? And as that goes on and that continues, you have to say to yourself, what is it that's causing all of these things to happen? That's a Democrat saying that. And nobody comes up with the real answer. And the real answer is this. And take a look at this.
He talks about with inflation stinging, school absenteeism skyrocketing, and students' academic scores plummeting, Democrats consume themselves in debates over pronouns, bathroom access, and renaming schools and adopted terms such as care economy and Latinx to win over voters. It was a hermetically sealed conversation with ourselves, and we appeared much as we sounded, distant and detached.
Whew. That was part of the end of Lindy Lou because he brought that in. Rahm Emanuel has made it, I think, a foundation for whoever becomes the next president candidate for the Democratic Party, or one of the candidates when it's open in 2028, when it starts probably in 25, 26. But there's going to be somebody on the Democrat side that's going to say, okay, we can't do the woke stuff. We can't keep pushing the trans ideas. We got to start accepting people are people, and everybody have opinions that they should be allowed to say, and we have to stop sounding like a complete lunatic. We have to do that. If we don't, we're screwed. That's really the way you have to look at this. And Rahm Emanuel, even though he wants to be the real heavy-duty Democrat, he also knows there's things that have to be done. That's Clinton, when you get down to it. Who would he work with? Clinton. Maybe he learned that, or he was just part of that group that understood that. Bill Clinton almost became a Republican when he was running for a second term. Well, everybody knew the difference, but he went to the center and he kept his base. He knew how to do that. And I would suggest that Trump definitely knows how to do that. And when you look at Kamala, when you look at Joe Biden, you look at other candidates, Rahm Emanuel, those people understand, the ones that know how to fix it, Bill Clinton, Rahm Emanuel, and some of the others that are advisors. Doug Schoen, who is an advisor to the Democrats, who you don't see much anymore because he said, hey, this isn't working, when Kamala was running. Those people that talk common sense is how we could possibly get back to a time where it was like Reagan and Mondale. Mondale was a weak candidate, but it wasn't ugly. I'm sure it was ugly in the darkness, but it wasn't like it is today. And you lose people when you're just ugly. You know, especially when you're teaching, when you're training, you need to understand how you can nurture and crush people or person the right way. When I say crush, if you're training for something that's to do that's dangerous, military, police, fire, there's a certain level of nonsense that has to stop. When they're doing something stupid, you have to make it very clear to them what they're doing. And you also have to nurture them, and you have to know how to do that. And, you know, you have to make them feel glad that you pissed them off. It's the only way I can describe it. But Rahm Emanuel and Bill Clinton knew how to do that. They don't know how to do that anymore in the Democrat Party, but Rahm's trying to help them. Okay, that's all I got for that. But wait, there's more. And one of the Democrats that hasn't learned that yet is our buddy out there, West Coast. His name rings a bell when you say new. Some guy, Newsom. Yeah, he's going to do some things about the EVs. Check this out. U.S. EPA approves California plan to ban gas-only cars starting in 2035. That's 10 years from now. Clean cars are here to stay. California Governor Newsom said, naysayers like President-elect Trump would prefer to side with the oil industry over consumers and American automakers. But California will continue fostering new innovations in the market. Really? The automakers don't really want to do this. They're being forced to do it. And right now, one of the fascinating points here is that there's a discussion between Honda and Nissan to merge. Now, I don't know if it's a total merge automotive or if it's a merge just on the EV side, because they're losing their butts on that to a big degree. We'll find out. But this idea that he says consumers and automakers, want to stop is not true. So California's rules require 35% of vehicles in the 2026 model year to be zero-emission model, rising to 68% by 2030. That's almost 70, just in case the math is a little hard for you. 70%. That means in a car dealership, if you have 100 cars, you can only have 30 cars that are gas or diesel. So that'll be all trucks, right? The state says the rule is crucial to meeting greenhouse gas emission reduction targets, and cutting smog-forming pollutants. The EPA also granted another waiver for California's omnibus low NOx or low nitrogen oxide regulation, for heavy-duty, highway, and off-road vehicles and engines, while 6 others are pending. So they want to make heavy-duty, as in semis, electric, which means they'll spend most of their day charging or running away from a burning truck. It's just what it is. This is frightening, I guess would be the way to put it, that by 2035, they want no gasoline cars sold. Now, I would suggest to you, and you may disagree with me, but if you've ever seen pictures of Cuba, when back in the 50s, when Cuba became a communist country and everything kind of stopped and money stopped, and there was only one person that had a lot of money, and that was Fidel Castro. You look at the pictures there, and it's a ton of classic cars that I would love to get my hands on and refurbish. I mean, we're talking 50s and 60s cars. And that's not a good thing for them. But it's my point that he wants to stop selling cars 2035, anything that's gas. People who don't want electric vehicles are going to just keep their cars. That's what's going to happen. You know, just before they try to do this on a national basis, I'm going to buy my last new gasoline car. I don't care what it costs. So I can have it till the day I die. That's really where we are today. And most people would probably agree with that. We're being lied to. Their electric grid, their power grid in California right now couldn't handle even 35% of the public with electric vehicles. Or then they'd have to say, you can't charge at night because we don't have enough power. They'd say because they're running too many lights. But what about the hot summer? They don't think through these things. They say, oh, well, we'll use the windmills. Have you ever seen a windmill on fire? On one of those great big windmills for wind power? That's pretty scary. And they've been known to collapse during the fire. That's what this is right now with Gavin Newsom. And he made the comment, he said, look, if Trump goes in and he takes away that $7,500 tax credit, he says, we'll do it. We being California. They're already in the tank. They don't have that money. But they'll just spend it until they're ready to shut down and file bankruptcy. And guess what? The government will bail them out. That's what'll happen. And I hope they don't. So while all that's going on, the budget deal, the EV stuff, the shootings, all of those things that happen every day covers up things people really need to know. And one of them is the job reports. And I've said to you so many times on my show, so many times, that we're being lied to. All these new jobs are not really happening. And look at this story that came out. Stunning new data shows voters were right to question Biden-Harris job numbers. First of all, that's pretty scary. The Philadelphia Fed believes Biden-Harris previously reported employee figures were off by 1.2 to 1.9 percentage points, depending on the survey data used. That might seem small, but when you applied the employment figures in all 50 states, we're talking about overestimating employment nationally by as much as 3 million jobs. When you hear about people that are in the street, people that are broke, people that don't know what they're going to do, people that don't know how they're going to survive, that's your answer. 3 million less than what they told us. That's pretty scary if you ask me. How could the Biden administration have been off by so much? Are you kidding? They were lying to us. Although it's incredibly difficult to prove, it's reasonable to suspect that the White House might have rigged the employment surveys to make it appear as though the economy was in better shape. Well, anybody that writes that story is doing tongue in cheek because they know what's going on. Remember what I tell you. Don't fall in love with a politician, and every politician on both sides are going to disappoint you. And they're all going to lie to you sometime, some way, somehow. It's the way it works. And I've said this, if you knew what's really happening in the government, what's really happening in the dark crevices of the White House and the Pentagon and every place else in America that's being run by the government, you'd be running down the street with your hair on fire. Because it's scary. It's frightening to a degree that I can't even describe. It's frightening in a way that most people would not understand because guess what? The stuff that they do is too stupid. There's no common sense. Man. So before I go, I want to cover one more thing because I'm so passionate about it. I'm passionate about everything. I know that. I get that. Hope you understand that. But this thing with men in girls' bathrooms, this thing about trans playing in women's sports, golf is a good example. Basketball, they don't belong there. Swimming's a great example. Every great swimmer is like 6'2", 6'3" in the men's, and the women's, it's not that case. And they can't beat the men unless they're really, really bad. Well, Senator John Kennedy, was talking to the NCAA head, president, whatever they call him. And it was clear that John Kennedy was really irritated with this guy. But he made what was a very short statement that was both hilarious and, well, just very pointed. Watch this.
Why don't you go to Amazon and buy a spine online and take a stand?
I'll play that again for you.
Why don't you go to Amazon and buy a spine online and take a stand?
He's right. The NCAA guys, well, I would support you with writing new bills and protecting this. No, what he should be doing is getting in front of every camera of every network in the United States, in the world, and say, we cannot allow this to happen where men are playing in women's sports. Did you notice we never say where women are playing in men's sports? I had a video yesterday with Riley Gaines where she talked about 2 men that were in the women's boxing in the Olympics that got gold medals. I told everybody before the fights ever began, I said, they will win gold medals. And they did in their weight division. It's what happens. When a guy is going in to fight somebody in the ring with a woman, one of the women, she was one of the top women boxers in the world. She said, I quit. I can't take this beating. They've never been hit that hard. Why do we allow that to happen? We're supposed to protect women. Our jobs, if you want to talk about Neanderthals, our job as men is to protect our wives and our friends and our family and our mothers. Nobody's going to pick on my mom when I was a kid. Nobody would ever pick on my mom. But the point is, it is our job. And to allow men to be in a locker room, to be competing against them on the field, in the court, wherever that is going on, it has to stop. That's my story for today. I don't know. I'm going to do a show Monday and Tuesday. And those 2 days, of course, Christmas is Wednesday. I'm going to take the rest of the week off. So I'll be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm going to try to put up some of my recent videos. So if you need a fix, you need to shoot some Framer juice into you, you'll be able to do that. Or you can just go and and find it at Framers View. Just all you have to do is go to Rumble, type in Framers View in the search on Rumble, and it'll find me, and you can watch some videos that you've missed. Because I'm sure some of you have missed some things. But I love the fact that you're here and you're part of the show. We will be back again on Monday to just keep doing this fun and frolic. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And until that, Monday morning show, Monday afternoon for you East Coasters, carry on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.